Welcome to Chapter 1, Introduction to the Science of Sports Nutrition. Now, once again, we're going to just jump into the manual, and I highly encourage you to have the manual there along with you, whether you've printed it out or you have it maybe on a tablet. I'm just going to kind of walk you through some of the key concepts of the manual right now. So we're jumping in there, and first and foremost, we have to ask ourselves, who is an athlete? Well, obviously, there's lots of different types of athletes. You have the classic quote-unquote weekend warrior. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here for us. Classic weekend warrior. You actually have competitive high school or maybe collegiate athletes, maybe semi-elite, or maybe all the way up to Olympic or professional athletes. So obviously there's lots of different types of athletes with lots of different types of needs that, again, we need to take into consideration in order to both optimize performance and minimize the chance of injury. Because in a sense, as a trainer and coach, that's your job. Maximize performance while minimizing the chance of injury. So as we go through here, what we want to think of as we start coaching nutrition is we're going to actually combine that with how we typically coach and train our athletes. In other words, most good coaches and trainers don't train the exact same way all year long. It's actually a periodized approach. In other words, we are going to fluctuate the type of training we do depending on the type of season and where our goals are. So we're going to do both a systematic and a periodized approach to nutrition coaching. So again, we think about periodization. Here's the classic example when we think about it as far as it relates to coaching. Periodization is the what? The varying or cycling of the frequency, intensity, and volume of acute training variables over time that will allow for adequate rest recovery, again, to optimize performance at a specific time. This is a foundational concept in training. Well, now what we need to do is apply it to nutrition as well, which should completely make sense. The nutrition and the nutrient demand specifically are going to vary depending on where the athlete is at in their training. So again, it should make sense that the demands are going to be very different whether they're actually in the middle of the competition, they're in preseason, or what have you. And that's how we're going to break it up. This is how we're going to break it up. We're going to actually break it up into a preparatory cycle or preseason, competition cycle or in season, and a transition cycle. Now we're going to be going over this in much greater detail when we talk about the applied sciences, but this is just meant to lay the foundation for you right now. That while athletes are all going to have very different goals, you need to be able to take those goals and the specific needs of the athletes and also take into account when are you actually giving these recommendations. So timing is going to be very important in a sense on two levels. What season are they in? And also the nutrient timing throughout the day for the athlete. Because what we're going to find out, just like training, it's not just how much you do, okay? It's about the quality of the training. So we need to be concerned about both quality and quantity of training, how much training, not too much, not too little. And we also need to be very concerned about quality and quantity as it relates to our nutrition. It's not just how many, say, carbohydrates we have, that's quantity, but it's also about the quality, said it backwards there, quantity and quality of the carbohydrates. What type of carbohydrates? What type of protein sources are we getting? And then we also take into account, again, time. Where are we at as far as in the season, but also time of day? Are we also taking into consideration, say, pre-workout nutrition versus post-workout nutrition? So these are all, once again, these variables that we're going to be going over. We just want to kind of put that into your mind now. These are some of these considerations. And if I back up in there a little bit, here's an example of some just common athlete training goals. And there's more than this, but this section is really just to kind of get your wheels turning about thinking about matching up the needs of the athlete, right, with the nutritional demand. So we need to be able to optimize the fuel sources for obviously training and competition, but also minimize injury during exercise and competition for that matter, as I've already mentioned. We also want to be able to reduce feelings of tiredness during exercise. Again, optimizing training, maintaining proper hydration levels, Spare as much protein as possible because we don't want our body literally breaking down our main protein sources that our main protein stores, well, such as in our muscle, for example. We don't want to break down muscle, so we want to have protein sparing. We want to actually promote free fatty acid use during endurance training, so we want to tap into those fatty acid stores. And of course, we have to meet the energy demands of the exercise, otherwise we're not maximizing performance. We need to replenish muscle and liver glycogen levels. That's where we're going to store our sugars, and this is a form of glycogen in our muscle and liver. We are going to need adequate protein intake for tissue repair, especially in the muscles. Again, adequate hydration and thermoregulation. So what type of training are they doing? Are they doing it in dry, hot weather? Are they in cold weather? That, again, will not only affect the training, but also their nutrition. Promote a healthy immune system. An athlete's no good if they're sick. And weight maintenance and body composition. Some athletes are looking to put on weight, some athletes are looking to maintain, and some athletes are looking to drop weight. So again, these are just some of the common training goals with athletes, and you can hopefully already start to think, okay, these are all these different things that we need to take into consideration when we're giving our nutritional recommendations. Obviously, there's a lot more in each of these chapters. I'm just trying to hit some of the highlights along the way. Please read more about the preparatory phase, all right, the competition or in-season phase, and the transition cycle or phase as well. But as you go through this information, always go back and think about application. Think about how is this going to apply to my athletes, and how am I going to start using this information when it comes to my nutritional recommendations.